I certainly wouldn't be one to brag about my results for week 5 or the season so far in terms of picking winners and picking against the spread, because they are definitely nothing to write home about. I promise you that. Probably should be spending a little more time on them. I'm just saying. So, but nonetheless, was 7-7 picking the winners last week, 8-6 against the spread. Again, nothing to brag about, nothing to really talk about here. So I'm here to quickly run through my week 6 picks. Not going to take a tremendous amount of your time here to get through them. You can check out all of my picks, obviously, in the description box down below. The Thursday night matchup, not surprisingly, the Chiefs covered the 10.5 spread, but it wasn't that much of a guarantee, apparently, because the Chiefs did not play great offensively, but of course then the Broncos didn't exactly do much offensively themselves. So yikes in Denver, right? You're 1-5, and even if you want to get the thought of Caleb Williams or tanking for the number 1 overall pick, what are you going to do with Russ and his dead cap the next couple of years? Really bad spot that they're in. But let me talk about some of the featured matchups for this week. I'm going to start with the London game. Very early Sunday morning here, 9:30 on the East Coast. The Ravens taking on the Tennessee Titans. The Ravens are favored by 4.5. And coming into this one after a bad loss last week where, if you looked at the box score, you looked at the result, you would say, well, Lamar Jackson didn't have a good game, except the problem is his receivers dropped like 8 balls. I mean, that's a lot. They dropped a number of easy catches. They dropped touchdowns. They should have beat the shit out of Steelers on Sunday. They didn't. So it is what it is. But, certainly from Lamar, was a good passing performance on Sunday. Just the stats might not fully back that up. Meanwhile, for the Titans, they're sitting at 2-3 and coming off of a loss to the Colts last Sunday. And mind you, that's a Colts team that saw Anthony Richardson, the face of the future of the franchise, go down early, and then Gardner Minshew came in with some magic. And, the Titans, you're in one of these bad spots where you start off with a couple of wins, but then you lose a couple of games, and you're toiling away in mediocrity. This team ain't fucking going anywhere. They're going to win a Super Bowl with Ryan Tannehill as their quarterback. Give me a fucking break, right? But they're not so bad where you can entertain the thought of tanking and that, you're going to get in a position to get a quarterback that could really change the trajectory of the franchise. So Titans fans, unfortunately, are just kind of fucked, stuck in the middle. What does that mean for this game? I don't fucking know. Who cares? There's a very good chance that this will be a boring snooze fest. One of those 17-13 type of jobs, 20-17 type of jobs. I'll take the Ravens to win. I will take the Titans to cover the 4.5-point spread. More interesting matchup featuring an AFC South team, or in this case, 2 AFC South teams. You've got the Colts traveling to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars, who come fresh off of winning back-to-back games against Atlanta and Buffalo in London. Meanwhile, the Colts, big surprise here at 3-2. And, it's kind of one of those bittersweet things if you're Colts fans, I suppose. Hey, the team is winning some games. They're tied for first with the Jags in this division. If you'd have said after 5 weeks that the 2 teams on top of the AFC South tied would be the Colts and the Jags, you probably take that. Although you got to be disheartened to know that Anthony Richardson is going to be out for a bit. But hey, it is what it is, right? Got to keep trucking along. Meanwhile, for the Jags, that London trip did them a lot of good. It'll be interesting to see how that momentum kind of carries over now that they come back stateside. But this is a big one, right? Can Minshew get some revenge against his old team? Will Trevor Lawrence be able to carry over some of his momentum? I like this one to be another close kind of matchup, right? I do think the Jags will win. I think they're the better team. Although I'm not going to dismiss head coach Shane Steichen and the coaching job that he's doing with the Colts right now. I will take the Colts to cover the 4.5-point spread. Shifting over to the late Sunday afternoon matchups, this one's a little different because this just features 2 teams that absolutely suck with 2 really bad head coaches. And of course, I'm talking about the Patriots and the Raiders. And you're going to say, Bill Belichick is not a bad head coach. Historically, no, but right now, I could sit there and blame Bill Belichick, the general manager, who is the worst general manager in the National Football League, especially when you look at his body of work over the past decade in terms of what he's done to build that roster. Like, just fucking atrocious on all levels. But, really good coaches can overcome really bad general managers, at least to some degree, and he ain't doing that shit. Meanwhile, you've got the Raiders coming off of their Monday night win, which wasn't pretty, but they got it done, right? Raiders fans, those that want Caleb Williams or Drake May, they're sitting there saying, stop fucking winning!
These dumbasses are going to win just enough to put them on a shot in range for them, but they're not going to get the top pick, but they're not going any fucking where.
And it's clear, right? These two teams are teams not going anywhere. They have no shot at all. There's no miracle coming. The only question is who will win in this matchup of former co-employees, right? It's the pupil versus the master. It is the disciple versus the teacher. It's two head coaches that we see them on the sidelines for these teams again in 2024. The Ravens are favored by 3, which is just an indictment of how bad the Patriots have been under Belichick. There's usually something about him not wanting to lose to his old coordinator, so I'm going to take the Patriots plus the 3. The more interesting Sunday late afternoon matchup, though, is going to be the Lions and the Bucs. I think a lot of people expected the Lions to be in first in the NFC North at this point. I certainly did. The one that's probably a surprise right now is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They sit at 3-1. They're the ones on top right now in the driver's seat in the NFC South. We all knew it was going to be a bad division. But the Bucs have played some solid football. I mean, even their one loss, it was a somewhat competitive game, against the defending conference champion Philadelphia Eagles. Well, this is a big matchup for these two teams. Imagine if Tampa could come into this game, defend their home field, and they go to 4-1. It would have created a little bit of space between them and Atlanta in that division, and the Saints as well. Meanwhile, they would have gotten one up on the Lions. Not bad, right? Meanwhile, for Detroit, for them to go on the road, win this one, to go to 5-1, really sets them on a good trajectory going forward the rest of this season. I like the Lions in this matchup. Give me Detroit minus the 3. And then what should be a pretty interesting Monday night game, you hope, because a Sunday night game between the Giants and the Bills certainly looks like it's going to be a fucking snoozer. The Monday night matchup, however, should be good. It's got all types of train wreck elements with the Cowboys and the Chargers. You're in Los Angeles, but there are going to be far more Cowboys fans than Chargers fans there. We all fucking know that, right? You've got Justin Herbert and Dak Prescott. You've got two head coaches in Mike McCarthy and Brandon Staley that are known for fucking things up. I'm assuming this is going to be a big shootout. As much as I thought that this Cowboys defense was really legit, I look at what happened last Sunday night against the 49ers, and Brock Purdy and that offense made the Cowboys their bitches. Micah Parsons could be mad about George Kittle wearing a shirt that says fuck Dallas. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. They kicked your ass. I'd be more mad about that, personally. My opinion. I understand sometimes you need motivation, but goddamn. Dallas is favored by 2.5 in this matchup. I guess I get that maybe, although that feels pretty bold for so much money to go on Dallas after that performance against San Francisco. That was not good. The Cowboys have gotten steamrolled by the freaking 49ers and kind of steamrolled by the Cardinals this year. Those are their losses. And if they lose this one to go to 3-3, it starts to get kind of ugly for Big D really quickly. Meanwhile, for the Chargers, you want to keep your playoff hopes alive. This is a win you have to get, and I think they will. Give me the Chargers minus the 2.5. There are my picks. You can check out the rest of them in the description box. We'll see how this goes. I'm sure I fucked it up already. I know it.